This episode of Misery Hunters is brought to you by Paisley Craft Beer Co. Paisley's craft beer store located in Silk Street in the town centre. There are hundreds of different beers on show for you to take away or even sit in and enjoy. Not only that, St Mirren season ticket holders will get 10% off beer purchases on match days when you present a valid season ticket. That's the takeaway or sit in as well. You can click and collect via their website www.paisleycraftbeer.com. That's www.paisleycraftbeer.com.
The saints are coming, the saints are coming. So no matter how I try, I realize I don't depend on saints.
Hello, you miserable bastards, and welcome to the Misery Hunters podcast. My name is Jamie Coburn, and joining me is Mark Jardine.
Hello.
And Andrew Christie.
Hello.
It's been a depressing couple of weeks, I say.
Yep.
I have to say, the person who
so
tweeted us asking us if we're going to change our name because there was nothing to be miserable about. This is your fault, and it's only your fault. I should have your name. I should have had your name ready, shouldn't I? But
We've proven time and time again. Never doubt us. We know what we're doing.
there's always something to moan about with St Mirren, and when you think there isn't, that's when it comes and hits you in the face with a shovel. But we have 3 games to talk about, unfortunately. 3 defeats.
Do we have to?
3 shots on target as well. Don't forget
three
that.
shots on target.
Yeah.
And we thought we had attacking issues under Goodwin. Who would have thought that was going to get worse? Maybe he's over management from the side. I mean, we can talk about this later. He's over management from the sidelines where he's constantly shouting at every single player is actually what kept the team together. But first game we'll need to talk about is the Hearts game. I mean, we started okay, and I guess we were relatively... I mean, I was going to say we were relatively... I can't even think of the word. I'll just say we were relatively in it. That's not what I was meaning, but...
Competitive.
That's the word, competitive. I've had a long day at work, leave me alone.
For a full 22 minutes.
Until
I think the red card really did just kill it, didn't it? I mean, saying that even then, before Ronan's red, Liam Boyce had maybe 2 or 3 fairly clear chances to put Hearts ahead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while the red card definitely confirmed that the day was away from us, I think it was... I don't know if it was necessarily going to be a day anyway. And with Ronan's red card... I mean, I don't know if there's much really debate around it. I think it's a pretty stonewall red. I also think, to be honest, Marcus Fraser was quite lucky not to get punished for the tackle on Mackay Stephen just literally a second before it. So,
Big time.
I mean, we could. I was as much of a red as Ronan's in my mind, but for whatever reason, the ref didn't see it.
The ref didn't see Ronan's either. It was right in front of Brother Beaton.
Yeah.
With the fourth official getting involved in, the slow motion replay shows you he was straight looking at it. It was, if the referee had missed it, which he did, he was always probably going to step in. What slightly annoyed me though is obviously I think the referee and the fourth official missed Fraser's, and with the player down holding his ankle or his shin, Fraser could have let the ball just go out for a throw-in, and he decided not to and continued the play.
Yeah.
So if anything,
anything,
Marcus Fraser's unsportsmanlike conduct got Connor Ronan sent off in a weird butterfly effect kind of way.
I mean, conversely, we could have been down to 9 men after 22 minutes, which from a kind of chaos point of view would have been good fun, but I don't know how that would have gone.
all previous evidence is that if we're involved and there's 9 men, then we'd probably have 1-1 now.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Don't know. Wouldn't know what you're talking about. You're talking about something that clearly didn't happen.
I think with Fraser's tackle, I think was actually the worst tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's at speed. He's gone right through him, and I'm surprised that I think it was Mackay Stephen. I'm surprised he wasn't kind of properly injured by that. With it being quicker and everything else, the ball bouncing away, fine. He's missed it. Having missed that, you were never going to get away with Ronan's. I don't think it's a particularly bad or even a particularly dirty tackle. I think it's just it's just poorly timed, and once it's happened, you can't kind of put that back in the bottle. It's done. You can't go and studs in on someone above
I
them.
think it actually does try and pull out of it, not to kind of defend.
Yeah.
It's obviously still a red, but he does pull out of it. So it was just a case of being overzealous and
He's
a
not
bit
done
daft in
at
the
all.
moment. Yeah, absolutely.
Which Fraser has, intentionally or not. I don't think it was intentionally, but Fraser's gone right through Mackay Stephen. You've got to imagine a guy that tricky that there's a possibility to catch him like that, and I definitely did think on balance his was the kind of more aggressive tackle, if you want to put it that way.
I mean, weirdly, the sending off actually kind of sprung us into life a wee bit. I thought the remainder of the half we looked all right, and obviously there was a big penalty shout for Ben Woodburn's tackle on Alex Grieve, which, I mean, for my mind was a pretty stonewall penalty again. But I guess it maybe makes up for the one he got against St Johnstone, which was very much in the soft category.
I mean, I still haven't seen a proper angle from that St Johnstone one, so I still don't know.
But you have to think.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew.
No, you go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to agree with you with regards to Grieve for that penalty shout. He's absolutely put himself in there to get bowled over. I don't think he's got much intention of chasing the ball down at the touchline and trying to engineer something. I think he's been very canny, which, to be fair, was the one thing that I wouldn't really have credited Grieve with. I think you don't want to overuse the phrase, but I think there's a lot of truth in saying that he is quite raw. He's not played football at a level before, and sometimes for all the attributes he's got, he's maybe not that kind of savvy, always in the right spot. Yeah, he's not necessarily that guy, and you're kind of expecting that to come with a bit of full-time training and full-time football against teams you would expect to have a slightly higher standard. So I wouldn't have necessarily thought that was his game, but he's intelligent. He doesn't make it look like a dive at all. He just does that thing where he speeds up, gets in front, and then just drops a half yard of pace out of his run. He's not thrown himself down or anything like it. He's genuinely been bundled over, and I think that makes it all the more frustrating that it's not led to a penalty.
Obviously, we'll talk about this game later, but we seen him do it against Celtic as well at one point, which completely enraged the quite amateur-ish commentary team. But
no, a thing or two about them as well.
We'll talk about that game later. But I think the referee's performance on a whole was pretty bad, because I'm pretty sure Hearts did get denied a penalty that might have been a penalty. Or am I thinking?
Was it a handball?
Handball, that was and it was like pretty much for me, looked stonewall. It was against Dunn. Was it Dunn?
Power.
Was that just before Power pretty much picked?
Oh yeah, it was Power. Yeah, it was.
We had there was two kind of back to back where was it Beninghamini that missed?
Glad you said the name, not me.
Could have had one from him, which was could have gone either way, and then the Power one I think was it not that long after that they kind of offset each other. It all adds up to being a poor refereeing performance, and I'm not having enough support from his officials. But I don't think it changed the game. I think if we were to get that one, then you could probably give Hearts the other one.
I think realistically, as soon as their goal went in, I think it was about on the 65th, around 65th minute. As soon as that goal went in, that was it. And then with the second, fairly quickly after, just kind of sealed it. And realistically, we didn't really offer a lot going forward. I think that was one of the games we had. Did we have a shot on target that game? I don't know. I don't think we did actually. But although saying that, weirdly, because obviously we play Hearts at the weekend in the quarter final. I don't think St Mirren will be looking at that game and be necessarily too worried about, based on that performance. We won't be too scared of Hearts just based on that day because of the circumstances it got away from us after 22 minutes. But kind of by that same token, Hearts will be looking at us knowing that if they play us right, we don't really have a way of breaking them down. And so I think it's added a bit of kind of interest to that quarter final, and a wee bit of spice with the sending off and stuff. So it could go either way with regards to the quarter final, whether it makes it a kind of positive for us going in or them going in. Obviously they'll be the big favourites, but I don't know if it's necessarily that indicative of what we could do.
I think the thing that would concern me is that based on the last couple of games, he seems to favour Tanser at left back and Tate and Tate on the right, and as much as Fraser was playing on against Hearts, Barry Mackay looked imperious. His work for the first goal is brilliant. It's everything that you want to see from a winger at your club, and that we tend not to. You're kind of hoping Jordan Jones will be that guy, but it just shows you what a bit of balance can do when you've got two genuine threats on either wing that can create that kind of space, and you can't overcommit to try and stop one of them, which I think we get kind of put in our box quite often. Because of that, it was excellent, and I think my fear would be that if it's Tate that's up against them in the cup, then we might get absolutely rinsed.
Tate does have a habit of getting caught out on a counter attack where he's just so far up the park where he's got no chance of getting back to. That's does with Barry Mackay. Yeah, you do have a slight worry there. We can talk about their goals. I mean, the one we probably will talk about is the claims for the foul on the goalkeeper. I've seen them given. If it happened against us, I reckon I'd be raging. So that's probably where I think
it's certainly one you'd claim for, but if you look at the replay, Jack Hannock does take a look back and think, "Oh, that's gone in," and then it was. Yeah, you'd obviously claim for it if it's against you, but I don't know it. To dislike the goal would be harsh.
Yeah, he's kind of suffered for his kind of blitz spirit of taking one in the dish but trying to get straight back up and save it. I think if he just stayed down after that, then you're giving the referee a decision to make at that point. No one wants to be the guy that gives a goal that literally flies in over the kind of bloodied face of someone. But once he gets up and dives about and then has the look and then goes down, you're never kind of bringing it back for an injury that you've just been made aware of. You're not getting that. So I think it was still a bad refereeing performance, based on all that I've seen and all that I've been told of what else. But to be honest, the red card that we got wasn't a bad decision, and I don't actually think there was a huge amount wrong with the decision for that as well. There was plenty of other wrong ones that kind of rule each other out, but I think for that one, we'd have been fortunate to get that go in our favour.
We'll move on to Celtic Park and the return of the dreaded formation. I mean, I guess at Celtic Park you can kind of accept that, especially the way Celtic have been playing. They've got extremely fast players, and you kind of just want to stifle and make it very, very hard for them, which we did for quite a certain amount of period. But yeah,
I think you almost have to go back five against Celtic in the way that they shape up with their three forwards and then at least two of the midfielders really piling in. It'd be, you'd be shooting yourself in the foot to go at that with less personnel. It's just maths at that point. I think we need to accept that we're not going to get that much possession. We're going to have kind of bigger, stronger bodies to cope with what's getting thrown into the box, and then you're relying a lot on those wide players to try and push on and do something in front of it if they can. And it didn't work in the end, but it wasn't a rotten performance. We were in the game for.
I thought we defended really well, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was probably the right call. I've got issues with other aspects of the selection, but I don't think going to the back five for that game was a bad idea.
What is your main issue for that selection?
That would be Curtis Main, Jamie.
Is it? Okay. That is one point I was going to bring up, and I'm pretty sure it'll be a talking point in another match about to come up as well. Curtis Main starting against Celtic. When I saw the lineup, I was like, "Oh shit!" But it did give me vibes of like Jim Goodwin's strange lineup against Celtic at Celtic Park. I can understand why you play Main in this match. You're essentially going to be defending the most. As you said, you're going to need big, strong bodies in there. He'll come back and defend set pieces and whatever, and then he's big enough in theory to launch a ball up to. However, it's still Curtis Main.
And I don't think playing a Celtic team like that, you're ever going to get much change out of throwing the ball 50 yards. That their centre halves are playing in the centre circle the majority of the game. I think if you're going to steal a chance against Celtic, it's much more likely that it's going to be getting the ball in behind Carter Vickers and Starfelt when they've got other things on their mind. Juranovic and was it Taylor that started at left back for them, are so high up the pitch and have such an attacking role in mind that and we've seen it with other teams playing against them in Europe and whatever else during the season. They're there to be got at if you play at them in the right way, and I don't really think anyone's had joy out of them just lumping balls at a lump of wood up top. I don't think that's what works. You need to play through them. You need someone like Grieve who's hungry and playing on the shoulder, and if you put the ball 20 yards over Starfelt's head, he'll probably win a foot race to get to it. And it's not just about winning the foot race, it's about being able to then take a shot, and a shot that's not just a pass back. It's being able to to pull something out of nothing. And I think you're much more likely to get that out of Grieve. You're probably more likely to get it out of a 30% fit Eamon Brophy as well as you are a Curtis Main. I think that was a kind of admission of defeat for me. You're just kind of hoping he mixes it a bit, and you might get a corner at some point. And if you do get a corner, he's going to have more of a chance of getting to it than their two international class centre halves.
To be fair, that when Grieve did come on, he did cause some issues. Like and we've already kind of talked about how intelligent he is as a player and how he will find a foul and get it. But then, like, I remember him. I think he won 2 free kicks for us that we'd done absolutely nothing with, and it was just a complete waste. And you've really got to take advantage of those set pieces. Something we've not been great with the past couple of years anyway.
Especially against Celtic, I think certainly going into that game, they were one of the worst. They had one of the worst records at defending set pieces in terms of where their goals against it came from. So yeah, the delivery's got to be better than it was on the night, because you get so few opportunities at Parkhead, and it's all well and good, because we did defend well. I think even both their goals came from kind of balls falling just to just a bit of bad luck. But you have to couple that good defence with some form of out ball, some form of attack. I just don't think the way to do that is Curtis Main up top on his own.
Mm-hmm.
What the back three did give us again, which I've missed, is that chance when Tanser switched it. So it must have been Tate bombing on, got to the touchline and rolled it back, and it was just behind Main. And then second most furthest forward player getting on the end of that to almost score is Joe Shaughnessy. Out of at Parkhead in a game where we've got 20% possession and an open play, he's 90 yards out of position to try and put one in the 6-yard box. That's what I've missed, and it's what you don't get in a back four. So.
Although I did see someone on Twitter say that we should start Shaughnessy and Grieve up front against Dundee. I'm all for it.
I'll take it. I'd rather have Shaughnessy up front than Mullen.
And Brigham Home Mullen.
Is he related to John Brigham Home Abeka?
I mean, anything else you want to talk about in that match before we move on to the next one?
Not massive, and I think I've got issues with the back five or back three, whatever, in general, but not so much in a game like that. Going to attacking is as naive as sitting in and hoping to get luck out of that. So just at that point, I was kind of happy to put it down to Robinson's had two fairly shit games to start on, like losing Ronan so early on against Hearts, and then a trip to Parkhead, which is a big ask for anybody. So at that point, I was just ready to kind of chalk them up to a bit of a false start, and which I guess brings us to Dingwall.
Coming out of that Celtic game, I was like, it was a pragmatic choice. It made sense at the time. I'm not going to complain about it. At least when we go to Dens, it'll be a return to the kind of fast-paced, positive attacking football that we've come to expect, not just from Goodwinson's New Year, but from Robinson's Motherwell at their best, and that lasted until about half one. Not Den's Dingwall.
We knew what you meant. But yeah, another back five. I don't know, do you think the fact of Connor Ronan still being suspended kind of forced his hand a little? Like, rather than play it like, we don't really have... Do we have another really attacking midfielder that we could have replaced them with?
Not in the same kind of vein as Ronan, I guess, no.
Mm-hmm.
Kelty would be the closest, but he doesn't really drop back and look for the ball in the same way Ronan does.
So I don't know, maybe if that's why... I don't know. And we'll get onto that in a minute. But, yeah.
Dylan Reid?
Well, Dylan Reid, he has been recalled. Why not? Give him that opportunity against Ross County. Like, let's have a look. Like, I'd rather Dylan Reid play in Connor Ronan's place than the back five that we selected. Like I kind of got it. Like, you've got two really fast like wingers from Ross County. You're looking to kind of stifle that, but it just didn't work. And the biggest point that where we lost that match was the halftime substitutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like bringing Curtis Main on for one of your most creative strikers against Ross County, and taking off Kilty to bring on Ethan Aaron. I think that's where the game was lost.
Because that gives us three fairly defensive kind of sitting midfielders and not much of a kind of an out ball. Like Jordan Jones has been kind of running a bit hot and cold in the past few games, but it's more to do with the fact that he's very kind of rarely given the opportunity to kind of run at people. When he does, we see him create stuff, but it's just there seems to be such a disconnect. There seems to be such a disconnected thing between the defence and the attack, and I think that's where we kind of notice how much we miss Ronan, because he's got that ability to kind of drop back and kind of show for the ball and just keep the midfield and attack linked. And the decision to bring on Main, I think was just bizarre. I think he's got this reputation as a kind of big strong striker, and he's not really used well as it doesn't kind of lend himself well to being a target man. Like, I know we're kind of saying that in the Celtic game, but I've got some stats in front of me from the Ross County game, so we can kind of back up the mud that we're flinging at him. So in the second half, he won 3 of his 9 aerial duels, which for a guy of his size, as a kind of focal point, you need to be performing better than that. He completed just 6 passes in the opposition half, and if you look at his kind of touch map and his heat map, he's so deep. He's very rarely in their box or even around their box. So it's just you can understand he'll drop deep to kind of try and show off the ball and create something, but he's just then not got the kind of wherewithal to follow that up with where he should be. And I think that's the difference between him and Grieve in that role. I think Grieve would be the better option for that. And I don't think Grieve was in the game much in the first half, but that was more to do with how the game went rather than how the game was kind of generally going, rather than any fault of his own. So yeah, I'd like to have seen him given more of a chance, or maybe even Brophy, because when Brophy came on, he was very, very out wide and just not really able to kind of do his Eamon Brophy things. So it was a weird game, and I think it was just one that Robinson ultimately got really quite wrong for me. Obviously, the 3 games in, it's far too soon to be making any mad statements either way. But I think it was a massive swing and a miss for me.
Yeah,
I think so.
Sorry,
and sorry, Jimmy. I think so. And to be honest, from my memory, it's similar to how he came in and started at Motherwell as well. There was a lot of missed opportunities in that first term, that kind of run from the summer to Christmas, and it was only really when he started to have his hand forced and was playing some of the younger guys that hadn't really broken into the team before that it all clicked. I might be remembering that slightly fuzzily, but that Hasty was out on loan until until the beginning of the January, I'm sure, and he was a key part of that Motherwell team that really pushed on in the second half of that season.
We should invite a Motherwell fan on. I've got, believe it or not, I've got Goggsy's phone number. We could try and get him on just to give us a little Q&A about Stephen Robinson. Both might
lift our spirits a bit.
Well, let's see what he has to say. But yeah, there's it's at half time at 0-0. I don't think there's like if you're going to play like the formation that you are, you don't really need to tinker it that much. You've still got a decent enough goal threat with Alex Grieve. Greg Kiltie is always going to try and create as many chances as possible. I just don't understand where the decision to like let's bring on another defensive midfielder and Curtis Main, was it like let's switch to the long ball, or but again that's not the like I was going to say that's not Curtis Main's game. What is Curtis Main's game? Answers on a postcard. We'll talk about the penalty decision. I actually can't remember what it was for.
It's weird that he runs across Gogic and gets kind of.
It's quite soft.
Does get kind of. It gets kind of bumped off Gogic and then goes into McCarthy, which makes it look a lot more like a foul than I think it probably was. You can't necessarily complain because I think Gogic is a bit clumsy with his legs at the same time as pulling his hands out, which is kind of is nothing surer of saying to a referee, please give a decision against me, than kind of throwing the hands up while still kind of leaving the legs hanging about. And the fact that he then bounces off McCarthy, I think, makes it look much worse. So it's soft. If we got it, we wouldn't be complaining about it. We'd probably be glad of whoever took the contact. But okay, it's what it is.
And of course, him falling into McCarthy was led to McCarthy going off injured, which I've not actually heard anything come at the club since. But hopefully, it's not too much of a bad one.
Communication on our injuries hasn't been that great because there's still not been a word on Anik. Did he have COVID? Is it an injury thing? Because I genuinely think he has been carrying an injury. He's went down a couple of times this season with I think a groin issue.
I think Sports Scene said COVID.
Okay. Because
I don't know.
I mean, did Lee Hodson play for Kilmarnock? Because I know, are they not still roommates?
Oh, very nice.
Or housemates even?
I don't know. He's carrying an injury would explain some of his kicking.
That's what I've generally thought with his poor distribution. Because there has been a few times where he's held his groin area, kind of. And I don't know maybe whether he's playing through that to try and, like, if his contract's up at the end of the season and he wants a big move, if he's playing through it, but then surely that would come up in a physio. Like in a medical even, but we'll see. But yeah,
I think the goaling thing for me with that, you're looking at a game where we've had like almost 2/3 possession. We've had 2 shots on target against not that good a county team. I know they've had a wee run of games, but we had a run of games and we're not that good. Like it doesn't necessarily mean much beyond you've had a bit of a purple patch from Charles Cook and Hungbo and a couple of others that we shouldn't be struggling. I don't think, at least offensively. With
the best of respects to Ross County, I think if we have any kind of serious ambitions for a top half finish, going away to Dingwall, the kind of games we should be seeing away. So it was really really frustrating to watch on Saturday.
We'll move on to talking about the Dundee game, which is tomorrow night or tonight, depends when you're listening to this. This is really where Stephen Robinson is going to have to, like, I'm not saying like we're probably the more level-headed of fans in the St Mirren world. I mean, there's already like absolute knicker wetting going on right now. People panicking and throwing things out the window.
Guys that have nicknames in the middle of their names on Facebook.
Yes.
Almost exclusively are the type of people that will be calling for him to get sacked already.
And if he doesn't get a result against Dundee, I genuinely think some heads will completely explode and you'll be able to hear the fireworks from everywhere.
I mean, surely...
sorry, Andrew.
You just hope that kind of with the best of respects, us idiots can see that game on Saturday and see that formation is just not working. Curtis Main is not working. Then you'd hope Robinson and his team will be looking at that as well and thinking, right, the kind of the 4-2-3-1 is what's worked so far. That's what when we went on the 8-game run. So let's just go back to that. We don't have to set up defensively against Dundee. Just play to how the strengths of what we've been playing recently, and just Ronan coming back as well. It's going to be a massive boost for us. So hopefully you just do the smart thing. I do get it, because it's a weird situation that Robinson's kind of finding himself in, and where typically when a manager leaves someone or like a club kind of around the bottom six, it's because their kind of predecessor was sacked for kind of poor performance or whatever. He's coming in replacing somebody who was poached for the kind of their successes. So it's a weird balancing act between not changing a winning formula but kind of still wanting to put your own stamp on it in the squad. And I think maybe just slightly overreached on Saturday. And obviously I've seen people talk about he's quite in the past he's been quite loyal to his kind of his guys, so I can see why Curtis Main would be his kind of go-to, but I just would hope that the thinking would be watching that on Saturday that it's an experiment that, you know, hasn't worked, and just revert to what has been working on Saturday. Sorry, tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yeah. The only thing that I've not, in terms of what he said and how he's spoken about things, the only thing I've not liked so far was, I can't remember if this was post-game from the weekend or if it was in print or what it was, but he said, you know, he came in and, you know, with things having gone so well and with not having had the time to meet the players, he thought, let's try and keep things the same and kind of, you know, keep that momentum. But he literally did that for 25 minutes against Hearts. Now, in that game, his hand was forced, and we've already said you can give him the Celtic game as well, where I think it would have been madness to go in with 4-2-3-1 and try and play a normal game. There, I think would have been pulled apart by that Celtic team. But if you're going to say you tried to keep the momentum and tried to do things, then I think you have to include the county game in that. You can't base it off a game with 10 men and a game at Parkhead. And did the polar opposite in Dingwall. He went back to a team that, you know, that categorically hasn't worked for us this season. He made choices, kind of quick decisions to change that, and it didn't even change it back to that shape or not. So the one thing he hasn't done, other than in the first 20 minutes against Hearts, is give what was working a chance and try to put his own kind of spin on that. And I think he followed that point up by saying, you know, maybe the time is now to try and put my own stamp on things. And I'm kind of thinking, all you've done is stamp since you got here. I don't, and I'm by no means giving up on him. I still think it was a good appointment given what other options were, and I still think it would be crazy to make any kind of long-term judgment based on 3 games. But it will be interesting to see what team takes the field tomorrow night, and what happens as a result of that, and then what happens you know, next time out after that as well. At that point, it's a pattern. Is he writing off this season to get to the summer and then build something else? And I don't think we're in a position, sitting with, you know, such a small gap between what's ahead of us. We're in a position where you can write that off. I think you're writing off an opportunity which might not come around just as easily as it did this year. Next season, I think that's a frustration, and I think he has to be careful.
If we finish top 6, his budget is probably going to be the biggest budget any Sitmore manager's been given. Yeah, you would like to think. Yeah. So surely he has some incentive to hit that top 6, especially when you look like, we've not won our last 3 games, but the league in the middle is that tight that it's not derailed our aims for top 6. It's not derailed our my aim for Europe.
Yeah, because I mean, by Sunday morning we could be, you know, knocking the door of top 6 and in the semi-final of a cup. So it just shows you how easily a season can go from like a kind of generationally good one to, you know, another shite one. And tomorrow is just a massive game, and I'm really interested to see how he sets up, whether he kind of listens to because you've got to assume his coaching team will be telling him, like, look, this is what worked in January and February. So you want to just do that? And I don't know. Like I say, if we can see something's not working, surely you'd hope that he can and can rectify it for tomorrow.
Especially when you also got to think that the last time a St Mirren player scored a hat-trick was at Dens. And with hat-trick hero Alex Grieve just chomping at the bit to get that hat-trick, you've got to start him and let him score this hat-trick that we're all dying to see. And whether we find out if his hat-tricks were Cody Cook style or like perfect, well-crafted hat-tricks.
Stevie Thompson style.
Exactly. I mean, we could briefly talk about the Hearts game on Saturday. It's really hard to judge because we looking forward to it, but slightly wary. But that's only because of our previous games. If we go out and we absolutely smash Dundee, then we'll be right fucking up for it. It's one.
Yeah,
I think they've got a few injury concerns as well, I believe. So we don't really know what kind of side they'll be fielding. But yeah, it's one that, depending on tomorrow, we'll either go in absolutely buzzing or ready for another shiter against Hearts.
We show up in Dundee and play an attacking game and take some goals off them and kind of get back to what we had been doing very recently. You can see that that's what he was aiming for and that's what he wants to do. We put a back five out tomorrow night or we put out a team like he has done the last couple of games against Dundee, and you know exactly what team he's putting out against Hearts. There's no way that he gives Dundee more respect than he does Hearts in the quarter final. So I think the proof's going to be tomorrow night, which I don't know if that terrifies me or excites me or both in equal measure.
My worry is we go absolutely smash Dundee and then we go revert to the back five against Hearts because of the game previous, which was only because of a sending off. But as you said, Andrew, Connor Ronan should be back, and hopefully that just balances the team a bit better under that formation. But we will be back after this.
Hi, I'm Alex Grieve, and you're listening to Misery Hunters.
Thank you, hat-trick hero Alex Grieve.
Magnificent.
Said he pretty buzzing there.
Absolutely buzzing. And that sound was brought to you by the Misery Hunters store, miseryhunters.co.uk. Get the lovely buzzing mate Alex Grieve t-shirt. Do it.
Only £7 delivery to New Zealand. I went in and checked myself. So
if you're listening, that's a steal.
Yeah.
Now time for a section we haven't actually done in a while, but this is where Mark comes into his element. It sounds like I'm teeing up a game. It's not a game, but it's time for...
Hello, this is Billy Mehmet, and this is the Billy Mehmet Hall of Fame. Let's do the dance.
Oh, it's good to have you back, Billy. I think I thought that I'd left enough in place that were I not to be here for the podcast that you guys would be able to pick that up and run with it, but apparently I'm the only person that cares about the club's heritage and recognising people that deserve to be recognised. So here we are. This one, we already mentioned it on Twitter before recording. Didn't leave much mystery for this one, I think. Given the world as it currently stands and what's dominating the conversation, I think it's probably right that we recognise the small part in our history that Ukraine played in our kind of small link to there. So entering the Billy Mehmet Hall of Fame is Sergei Baltacha Jnr. For my money, the best Sergei Baltacha.
Oh.
I say without any knowledge of his dad's career whatsoever.
I think his dad had the better career.
Yeah.
Nah, they didn't play pace with him.
Dad never played for Peter's House, so...
or for Scotland under 21s. So get that up, you Sergei Senior. Who I believe is currently a PE teacher and Charlton coach.
Yeah.
So good on him. Sergei Baltacha Jr. was born in Kiev to his Soviet international dad and was an early member of the famous Dynamo Kiev youth team.
How are you spelling Kiev here?
K-Y-I-V.
I'll just make sure.
The correct way. The correct way for our brothers in that part of the world. Part of the same youth team. Not the same I'm not talking the Kiev 79s or anything, but the same youth team in general that put out Andriy Shevchenko, Sergei Rebrov, among many others. They know what they're doing. Junior and Oleg Blokhin, national hero and all that. For some reason, his dad decided to move to Perth because who wouldn't? Via Ipswich, and young Sergei ended up not pushing on while he was a member of the Dynamo youth team, but pushing on while he was a member of Canool Juniors in Perth, and through that earned a spot at the Buddies. More than 50 starts over 2 and a bit years, 3 goals. A key part of the Bubble Didn't Burst team, and then I think slightly less appearances the year after in the top flight. I put it out on Twitter and Facebook to try and gather as many memories as possible about Sergei and his time in the Stripes. And apart from people asking which Sergei was talking about, and people not understanding if his late sister was actually his mother, not understanding if Sergei Jr. played tennis or not, the kind of main football memory that came back was his goal in a 4-1 demolition of Morton at Capello, a tap in front of the wee Dublin end, and for that he'll always deserve our respect. He gathered a bit of headline, grabbed a couple of headlines, making 3 appearances for the Scottish under-21s, which I think was not what many people expected, but also earned him the distinction of being the first Scottish player without any Scottish blood to earn a cap at that level or above. He was the first. He could have played, I think, under the kind of complicated rules at the time for Russia, Ukraine, any one of the home nations, and there was a third. There was a third other option that he could have played for as well, but he decided to play for Scotland. His dad was interviewed for the Courier in Dundee a few years ago and said, "I feel like I have Scottish blood. My son still lives in Glasgow. He's never wanted to leave. When he played for St Mirren, there was a German club who wanted to sign him, and while he was over there, he phoned me. He said the weather was better, so was the money, but he just wanted to come back to Scotland, and so back he came. And fair enough, I'm not going to question that decision." He left for a couple of trials in England. He eventually signed, I think, for Millwall, but it didn't come to much, and surprisingly after that didn't secure kind of top level or full-time football up here again. He played some juniors football. I think Andrew's already mentioned Petershill, and then chucked it for a career in finance, which I think he still does, which is Scottish football's loss, but financing our capital city's gain. So
I love Craig's comment in our WhatsApp chat that he worked with them but didn't know if it was the same one. I mean, how many people are called that?
No, but that's the thing. There is another guy called.
Well, he's
also a footballer. so I didn't know if it was that Sergei Baltacha. I thought it was maybe the other one who was an international footballer and played at the Euros and the World Cup. In Sergei's own words, and I thought maybe the best way to finish this, given the reason that he came to mind for this one, is that he said around the time when he was getting his under-21 caps, "I probably feel more Scottish than Ukrainian now because I spent most of my life here, but I'll never forget my roots." And I thought that's probably the fairest way to end it.
My couple of memories of Sergei Baltacha, I remember it was either against Airdrie or Clyde. When at a certain age, all my memories of these games was their stadiums were very similar in the way the away fans went in. So I can't remember if it was Airdrie or Clyde. And we got a free kick outside the box, and Sergei Baltacha lined himself up to hit it, and everybody was like, "What? Don't let that fucking big idiot take it, blah, blah." And I remember my stepdad going, "No, I had a dream last night. That's going in the top corner." And what did he do? Slotted it right in that top corner. Beautiful. And never seen again. My other memory of Sergei Baltacha was in Chapman 0102. You could sell him for a good price, and that would essentially fund the rest of your team.
DC DLC, DMC, MC, all of the above.
Him and Chris Ray, you could sell them, and that got you a good 2 million to spend.
And I'll say this quietly, and Stephen McGarry, you could get a wee 1.2, 1.5 for Stephen McGarry.
Also, randomly, was it Tom Brown you could sell for a bit? There was a few players in there that you could sell.
Tom Brown's a bit older. It was Paul Rudden. You could get you could get a decent price in for Paul Rudden.
And I used to always buy. See, everyone talks about Mark Kerr, but generally, see if you went any team and signed Simon Lappin, he'd rack up the assist stats and the goals like something else. Like, I know that's we're talking about Sergei Baltacha and we've kind of detoured a bit, but this is important. But yeah, like you get quite a good wage for them. And the other thing I was going to mention was the whole thing with like his late sister Elena, that everybody put claim to her for the tennis. Like, I don't know, just because he played for St Mirren, for some reason the Paisley Daily Express would report on her as a Paisley tennis player. If you Google her, so the Paisley Daily Express appears, Ipswich's newspaper appears because that's where she was born, and someone else has claimed to it, maybe Perth. Like, all three are claiming her, kind of thing. But
there was I went and did a bit of a deep dive trying to find some articles to pull some quotes from, and to be honest, I'm pleased with the two I found. That took a bit of searching, but there was also another article which genuinely seemed to make front page news in the PDE about Elena almost missing Sergei's wedding because she was playing in a tennis tournament. That was deemed to be kind of the issue of the day. And she didn't even miss the wedding. She went to the wedding. The headline wasn't that she missed the wedding, her brother's wedding, to play tennis. She almost, but then decided she couldn't.
It's because she was British #1. That was the whole thing. It was like, oh, we've got a link to her. Yeah. Let's get it in the PDE. Whether she had a Paisley link or not, who knows? Yeah. Welcome to the Billy Mehmet Hall of Fame, Sergei. I'm pretty sure he's one that we could easily reach for a Zoom call at some point.
Yeah, there was mention already on Twitter of someone. I mean, forgetting the fact that Craig worked at the same place as him. Someone else messaged me on Twitter and said that they knew him through work as well and could maybe get a message to him. So if you're listening, Sergei, drop us a wee DM. And,
hope he still has the Backstreet Boys style blonde highlights, because as a kind of 10-year-old getting into football, I just thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I thought, who is this guy? He's like 19 feet tall. He's gonna be the next Zinedine Zidane. And yeah, just loved the man.
That and just that surname in a team where the other surnames were like Mackenzie, Walker, Rudden, Ross.
It was a bit
to have that Baltacha was just a bit exotic, a bit,
especially in the old first division, like where foreign players were extremely rare. To have a Baltacha in there. I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but did he have an earring which he taped over to play? I'm sure I remember that with the blonde hair.
That seems like more of a Jens Paisley thing.
Yeah, I think he had it as well, but I don't
not his earring.
Or his tape.
Yeah. Welcome, Sergei.
There we go. Yeah, welcome. Nice to have you.
Miseryhunters.co.uk, you can get our brand new Alex Grave t-shirt. We've also got the Meatball t-shirt up there. The Scotland game's coming soon. Maybe. Probably delayed. But still, get it in time for that. Andrew's blog is up there. His new one will be going up tomorrow morning, maybe, if I remember. And
you're giving me that face for, Jimmy. You're the one in charge of putting up.
I'll try. It's in my email inbox and it should have been up already. I apologise. I will get it up.
So much in favour of Jamie being called out for admin on the podcast.
When there's one person in charge of all the admin of the podcast, occasionally things get slipped. Right? Okay.
Fine.
I thought you were going to come to defence of the Billy Mehmet Hall of Fame, and I was like, for 20 minutes of that podcast, yes, but the rest of it, no. Yeah, and fuck Vladimir Putin.
Fuck Mark McGee.
Fuck Race Rovers.